Good evening, everyone. So I'm Laura King. I'm the NFPA Public Education Representative for Canada. I know most of you, but it's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces, and thanks so much, and the new faces, of course, and thanks so much to Carol for organizing this evening. It was actually very easy to do, and I'm excited to see you all. So I'm going to talk for a little while. I have a note here that says slow down, because you all know I'm from Cape Breton and I tend to go quickly. So if you could all mute your microphones for now. You're welcome to stay on camera. I can see some of you down the right hand side of my screen. If you want to turn your camera off so you can do other things and not distract us, that's fine too. Entirely up to you. I'd like you to use the chat box as you have been. You can ask questions and we will answer them at the end. I'm also going to encourage you to use the chat box a few times to put in some information that will come in handy as we go along. And as I said to you earlier, I have no technical support tonight. I'm on my own. So bear with me if I pause between different technological applications and whatnot. Okay, so we've got about 35 to 40 minutes of presentation as well as conversation, and then we'll open it up to talking about what we can do, pardon me, what we can do in this interesting time where we're having to look at more virtual options. So a few things before we get going. If you don't know, you can manipulate your screen by hovering your mouse over. It's usually the top right, and then you can see the slides larger than you can see me. So just play around with that. You won't lose the picture or anything. Just play around with that, and that might help you. So if you're having trouble seeing the slides, muck around with your mouse and you'll be able to click on various options. Turn off the camera and microphone if you like, and use the chat box. And remember that unless you're specific about who you're typing to, everyone can see what you type. So be aware of that. If you have technical problems, type into the chat box and we'll try to help. Thanks again to Carol. And some of you may have seen a webinar similar to this back in July when we did it with NFPA. We're going to focus a little more on the Canadian resources, the French resources today, and have lots of opportunity for input. Carol, can I just ask, everything okay? Okay, she might be kind of away. And I don't see anybody else hovering in the waiting room.
I just sent an email off for the connecting. I had a different email for Cindy. She was having trouble getting on, but she's going to try rebooting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, guys, so if you have been under a rock and don't yet know, our 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen in English and, of course, hooray, in French. We have had a great response from educators all over North America already, which is evident in our launch video, and we'll show you that in just a moment if you haven't already seen it. And even if you have, we're going to show you anyway. While the video is playing momentarily, if you guys can take a second and just tell me in the chat what you think of the theme and how relevant it is in your community, that's great feedback for us. So take a second and do that, and I'm going to play the video momentarily. I'll just tell you that the video is a little bit, the audio is not as loud, so you have to listen carefully.
It's finally June 1st. Let's launch this Fire Prevention Week 2020 from our kitchen to yours. Fire departments everywhere are getting ready to serve up fire safety in the kitchen for Fire Prevention Week this year.
This year's theme works to educate everyone about the simple but important actions that they can take to keep them and everyone around them safe in the kitchen.
Why cooking safety? Unattended cooking is the #1 cause of kitchen fires and fire injuries.
Here at NFPA, we know that Fire Prevention Week might look a little different this year. We might not have open houses, school or community events, but we've got lots of new and different ways to get the message out.
NFPA is ready to serve up fire safety in the kitchen. Are you? NFPA está lista para servir seguridad contra incendios en la cocina. ¿Y usted?
Ready for Fire Prevention Week in Texas. We are grilling some safety because you know we love our barbecue.
In Canada, we are asking everyone nicely to serve up fire safety in the kitchen. Au Canada, nous demandons à tout le monde de bien servir la sécurité incendie dans la cuisine.
Indiana's all wrapped up to get the word out about kitchen safety. We've got a lot cooking in Georgia for Fire Prevention Week. The South is frying safely. The Bowie and West are ready to go.
We've got the recipe for safety in New England, especially while boiling our lobsters.
So no matter where you live, get ready for Fire Prevention Week at firepreventionweek.org. We've got this.
About to serve fire safety in the kitchen. Get some lessons that can help with fire prevention. If you have some further questions, won't you listen? About to serve fire safety in the kitchen.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Carla, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Thank you. I just happen to be able to see you. Oh, great. So thanks for the feedback, you guys. That's great. I'm hearing or seeing lots of positive responses. And we're going to talk about data in a few minutes, and data about kitchen fires that will explain why we chose this as the theme. Pardon me. So by the end of today's short webinar, you guys will be familiar with the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme. You'll understand the NFPA research and data that supports the theme. You will go away or develop knowledge of Fire Prevention Week and community risk reduction, which many of you have heard of. You will be comfortable accessing the Fire Prevention Week website and the resources, which is critical because the website is so deep, and sometimes I know you can get sucked into the vortex and confused and get lost and then get frustrated. So you will know where to find social media resources, and you will leave us some great ideas for non-traditional Fire Prevention Week activities, which we're going to need this year. So why did NFPA choose cooking safety as the theme? Before I give you a bit of background, if you wouldn't mind telling me in the chat again, if your data, now you've talked about the fact that you like the theme, but if your data in your community, your region shows that cooking is indeed a leading cause of fires in your area, that would be helpful. If your data is actually showing that, let me know. Thank you. So this theme was decided upon actually more than a year ago, long before we were all staying home. So it's not because of COVID, but because NFPA research shows us that all over North America, cooking is indeed the #1 cause of home fires and home fire injuries. It also shows us that unattended cooking is the top cause of fires in the kitchen, obviously, probably. That half of all cup and tableware burns are to children under 5. That's something I didn't know, and I hadn't heard that expression, cup and tableware burns, but obviously scalds, parents drinking coffee and hot soup out of a microwave, that kind of thing. That 1/3 of contact burns are from stoves or ovens, not surprisingly, and most of them, 93% or something like that, are from electric ranges rather than gas. And that could be two things: that I think where in our region, your region, there's a electric ranges are more prevalent, and also when people see a flame on a gas stove, they're more apt to step back anyway, whereas you're not sure and can't see whether the coils are hot on an electric range. That, yeah, and 40% of contact burns from grills or barbecues, as we say, are children under 5. So all of that supports NFPA's messaging about a 1 meter kid-free zone around hot things. And that's one of the resources that we have for you that we'll show you shortly. So here are some other interesting tidbits to help you customize your Fire Prevention Week messaging. So according to NFPA research, and I can send you all the link to this research, it's fantastic research paper, people 55 and older had the highest risk for cooking fire deaths, not surprising, and it's even higher for people as they get older, so it multiplies after 65 and 75 and 85. But interestingly, the highest risk of non-fatal home cooking fire injury, so not death, but injury, is people between 20 and 34. So much younger people who are busy and on the go and distracted by their phones, right? More than half of non-fatal injuries were people trying to control the fires themselves. Also found that fascinating. I don't think that we're getting the message out about what to do if you have a fire in the kitchen. And that's what NFPA said in the research paper, that the frequency and increased risk of oil and grease fires indicates a need for more consumer awareness on how to deal with these fires. And that, of course, is our job as fire and life safety educators. So just a bit more data before we move on. 23% of cooking fires occur between 11 at night and 7 in the morning, which probably doesn't surprise you. And 40% of fire deaths occur during those hours. 40% of fire deaths that occur during those hours are when people had fallen asleep. So another message that we really need to focus on and get out there. So I'm just going to look at the chat. Yes, Carol, I will send you the data. Absolutely. One cooking related fire, Jade says. Okay, in Sussex, yes, cooking is our #1 cause of residential fires, says Mitch. Absolutely. Okay, so it's a bit mixed. Some people don't have stats, but kitchen calls are fairly common. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with people staying home and more people in the house, I mean, we're certainly still in that situation in Ontario where people are still at home. High school kids are home. Nobody's working in downtown Toronto. There's, you know, the GO trains,
Hold
the
on, let me
office
just interrupt.
towers.
Just hold on, I'll get back to you. Hold on.
You okay, Carol?
Norm they got just kicked out at in a Minto. There was a little power thing, and they're back on, but they're in the waiting room or something for you to invite them in or something.
Okay, let's just have a look here and see. Usually it pops up.
And then Margaret from, I believe it's Memram Cook. No, not Memram Cook. Where is she? Margaret was kicked off. Musquash was kicked off.
Good heavens.
Or was trying to log back in.
Okay. Okay, let me just find the waiting room here.
So she's trying to do something there.
All right.
Well, it's a whole new learning curve for everybody.
Yep. All right, guys, I'm going to pause for a second so I can let everyone in.
Okay.
Okay. You have to multitask. There we go. They're coming.
Hi, Laura. Can you hear me? It's Joel in St. John.
Hi, Joel. We can hear you. You bet we can. Yep.
Okay.
Nice
That
to
works.
see you. Okay. And then Margaret, we're just going to let Margaret in. And there we go. All right. I think everybody's in who was waiting. Margaret, I'll make sure that Minto's back in. That was Brandy, right? Yep. Okay. All righty. We're going to return to the share screen.
So for those of you that have just gotten on, if you could sign your name in on the chat for us, please.
Okay, I think I'm in.
Okay, can I just get some thumbs up if everybody can hear? Everything's okay?
Yep.
All right, thanks guys. Sorry, so much fun, eh? The technical side of it. Okay, and I'm just gonna find that chat box again. Okay, Minto's back. All right, there we go. Okay, so why cooking safety? We've just been through that. And I just gave you a ton of data, which Carol will forward to you. So you can use it when you're doing your education programs and whatnot. It's North American data, so it's overall, it's not specific to the United States. And we made sure that that was the case before we launched all of this information for you. So it was a ton of data, but it's important to understand the data in order to frame the way you plan your Fire Prevention Week activities, the way you choose your audiences for each of the messages that we have this year, and determine what information you're going to give to those audiences. So some of you have heard me talk, right, about community risk reduction and the 5 E's of community risk reduction. And they're there on the screen for you: engineering, emergency response, economic incentive, enforcement, and of course, education. And these are all different ways that you can reduce the risks in your community. But for us this evening, of course, we're going to focus on education. And it's pardon me, also, obviously, when you're planning how you will use the NFPA Fire Prevention Week resources, you want to use the data from your community risk assessments or the data that you have, your call volume, however you collect it. and target your specific audiences, and then build your Fire Prevention Week plan or programs. So we know that doing that using the data will support and define your Fire Prevention Week efforts, that it will help you identify your target audiences, your communities, neighborhoods, what behaviors you want to change, that it will help you affect change in behavior, and that it will help you evaluate your programs, which I think is critical. So ultimately, public education is about changing behavior. You guys have all heard me say that many, many times. The message is, and that's the aim of our Fire Prevention Week messaging. So our messages this year are clear and simple, and we'll review them as we navigate the website in just a moment. And the website, which you all know, is fpw.org or firepreventionweek.org. They both work, so as soon as you start to type in FPW, it should come up on your screen. And our education team has done just a fabulous job making the messages really specific. So they're targeted at very specific audience. So teenagers, busy families, university students, young adults, older adults, and they target specific behaviors such as being distracted by Instagram while you're waiting for your pot to boil. So can you guys add in the chat who your specific audiences are in your regions? And then we'll have a look back at that in a few minutes. Okay, so who is the target for your Fire Prevention Week messaging? Okay, so if we go to firepreventionweek.org, you will see what the page looks like, what the home page looks like, and you will see 4 tabs across the top. So cook safely, about, toolkit, and shop. So we want you to ignore the shop part. I should have put a big X over it, because that takes you to the US, the American NFPA website, and you don't want to buy your stuff from there. Most of you probably already have your kits and whatnot, and we'll talk about that shortly as well. So we're going to look at those 3 tabs: cook safely, about, and toolkit. And again, it's firepreventionweek.org. So what I like to do when I'm doing webinars is just take screenshots of the screen rather than have to write it all down, and then I go back and pull them out later, and I find that to be very helpful. So firstly, at the Cook Safely tab, which you'll see highlighted there in red, essentially there are resources for 2 groups of people under that tab. So you guys, right, fire departments, fire and life safety educators, and then also consumers, so people who might just be online looking for cooking safety. And the resources that are there are suitable for both the fire departments and you guys to distribute to people, or for people to look at or use on their own, because they're simple and basic, right? So under Cook Safely, you're going to find the tools, activities, and safety information that your department can provide to consumers. Okay. Sorry, there's the arrow pointing at Cook Safely. Okay.
Laura, can I interrupt again?
Yes, ma'am.
I have another person that couldn't get on, and I sent her the information with a different email. So when she tried to get on, she's thinking that you need to accept that email, a different email address.
Let me just see. I'll just scoot out here again, and then we'll see if we can, if she's in the waiting room or anywhere else. Sorry, guys, I don't know why it does that. A couple of people. They're coming. So I'm looking at your audience: Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, seniors, teens, grade 4 to 6, K to 5, daycare, seniors. Good. Okay, so we have lots of resources for all of those age groups. Excellent. School children, new Canadians. Yeah, we have lots of stuff for people for whom English is not a first language. Okay, great. Thanks, you guys, for helping me with that. Okay, I think everybody's in. Carol, we'll go back to share screen. Good thing this is a friendly audience. And you're all so patient, and I know most of you so well. It's when you get a bunch of people from Ontario who all sit with their arms crossed going, good heavens, it's intimidating. Not like you guys, you're not intimidating. Okay, so There we go.
Maritimers were a quiet bunch.
I know, you're just a good bunch. All right, so cook safely. So for those who just joined us, firepreventionweek.org is our website where you can find all things fire prevention, and we're just starting to go through it resource by resource, okay? So under cook safely, you're gonna find all the stuff you need for your department and also to share with consumers, and then we'll go through about and toolkit, which is where all the good stuff is located. Okay, so also in this Cook Safely tab, or under this Cook Safely tab, you're going to find the Families Cooking Safety Checklist, which is a great tool, and it's available in English and French, and I think that we deserve a round of applause for that, because this was one of those things that I insisted that they do in French, and it's tough slogging to get things translated through NFPA. So by the grace of the Office of the Fire Marshal in New Brunswick, Yukon, with Department of National Defense, we managed to get many more resources translated than usual. So this is a big win, and this is something that you guys can use on social media. You can hand it out, you can post it, you can do all kinds of things with it, and it really works for families, not any particular age group. You could send it to daycares, preschools, schools, teachers, communities and clubs and organizations, just like you guys just said, where your target audience is. You can post it on social media. You could do a short video of you guys showing the items and then ticking the boxes, or find a local celebrity, your mayor, a sports figure, hockey player, something like that, and have them do it, or even just walk through the fire hall with your firefighters who love to be in videos, and they are very tech savvy and can post to, we've got TikTok now, we've got Instagram stories, we've got Instagram reels, and YouTube, right? So all kinds of different opportunities to do something like that. So we were trying to think about how we started developing these resources, as I said, long before COVID, but then we started thinking about how to make them work if you can't be face-to-face with all of your audiences. So anyway, I'm pleased with that resource. All right, so also on that Cook Safely page is a bit of a synopsis of the messages for 2020. So there's 4 messages that you will see. Stay focused on the food, put a lid on it, keep cooking areas clear, and prevent scalds and burns, and then lots of detail on each of those messages. And all of that information comes from our EMAC, which, as you all know, is our Educational Messaging Advisory Committee document that has all of NFPA's messaging in it, that has been compiled by technical committees, and that is used by all of the offices of the fire marshals and fire commissioners across Canada. And when I put messages out on social media and whatnot, those are the messages that I use. So the messages are consistent across the country, across North America, and that's a nice synopsis of it. If you've ordered pamphlets, I thought I had one right here. If you've ordered pamphlets, that's in the middle of one of the pamphlets. So it's a great help, okay? So and now we're going to take a look at the resources that go with those messages, including in a few minutes the social media posts that go with each one. So still with Cook Safely, these resources are in English only. I apologize for that, but as I say, one step at a time. But some of you can still probably use them. So the stay out of the kid-free zone, 36 inches, 3 feet, 1 meter. I didn't get the 1 meter in there, but small victories, right? One at a time. A fire escape checklist, and then a checklist for caregivers of older adults, which is probably a good audience for all of us. We probably all have that audience within our neighborhoods. So 3 things that are easy to access under that tab on the website, and that you can, this is all the free stuff, right? So you can print. I'll often say, I think when I was out there with you guys a couple of years ago, we talked about a potential partnership with Staples that never materialized, but if you can work with local print shops and whatnot and have them sponsor, that might be not a bad idea. Okay, so we'll move along. Still with Cooking Safely, videos for kids. There's 3 videos that work really well with the theme. You can find them at our NFPA Kids YouTube channel. You can find them at sparky.org, and you can find them if you poke around on the NFPA website, but I just wanted to show you that there are 3 that I think are really good that work with the Cooking Safely theme and the serve up safety in the kitchen, and that is Sparky's Hot, Not Hot, or Sometimes Hot. So if you want to take notes or take your snapshots, the walk away or stay and play, which is a bit like Kahoot. It's kind of your game show thing. And then the third one, which is actually quite funny, pardon me, and not too hokey, is Sparky's Aunt Dottie and her kitchen fire safety rules for kids, which is really cute. And all of these are nice and short and sweet, and they get the messages across. So if you're looking for resources for kids, and many of you said in the chat box that you are, these are great to use. Excuse me. So popping back to that homepage, firepreventionweek.org, the second tab explains the origins of Fire Prevention Week and focuses on this year's theme, right? So here, you'll see the launch video that we looked at originally, and then 3 videos that you can use to educate any of your audiences about Fire Prevention Week and cooking safety. So the first video tells the backstory to Fire Prevention Week, and just in case you guys don't know this, and I bet most of you do, interesting tidbit actually, since 1922, NFPA has sponsored Fire Prevention Week. In 1925, U.S. President Calvin Coolidge proclaimed Fire Prevention Week as a national observance. So it's the longest running public health observance in the United States, but in Canada, Fire Prevention Week was actually adopted 2 years earlier in 1923. So I love to tell them that in the States, and they're quite surprised to hear that. So it's observed each year, of course, during the week of October 9th, and that's in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire, which began on October 8th. 1871, long time ago. So the date's never going to change because a lot of people ask. Often Thanksgiving falls within Fire Prevention Week, and that sort of omits that weekend for you guys. But the date will remain the same, and we will continue to work around it. So that's one of the videos, and it explains all that. And then the second, making a home fire escape plan, which is great for all audiences. I'm not going to show these to you because they take too long, but at least when you see these, you can then go find them. And the third is the recipe for fire safety, which is great for, again, for all audiences. So how do you use these? They're great for virtual lessons, and they could be added to school applications like Seesaw or Flipgrid, which I didn't know about till recently, but these are widely used by teachers in daycares and preschools. So even if you're working with your daycares or preschools and can let them know that they can access these for free and download them, that might be some good information that you guys can share. They're great to add on as extensions to your social media posts as well. And remember to use the hashtag Fire Prevention Week. All right, just scrolling. Okay. Okay, so back to firepreventionweek.org and the third tab, which is my favorite, right here, which is Toolkit, our Toolkit page. Everything you want and need to build your Fire Prevention Week programs and activities, including tons of resources for virtual or distanced events and campaigns. So before we talk about this, thanks for your comments in the chat. There's lots of them, and I appreciate that. Can we just go back and look at some of those target audiences? I'm just going to scroll back. Okay. You see the conversation about fire blankets. We can go to that later. I've seen that on Facebook lately. Okay, I think we've covered that actually. Elementary schools, seniors, parents who normally come to our open house, right? So how are you going to reach them? So just type in the chat if you would for me. Are you guys able to do open houses and face-to-face events this year? And then I'll come back and look at it because we're really not going to be doing any of that in Ontario at all. Okay, so many of you will be familiar with the toolkit because it's been around for a couple of years. You click the red boxes to download these resources. So out of the box, ideas, press release, talking points, proclamations, fundraising letter, and event flyer. The out of the box ideas is new, and we're really excited about it, and we're going to talk further about that in a few minutes. So you will find talking points about cooking safety, which is a great tool to help you guys prep for interviews. So if you're doing interviews with media, download the talking points and you'll have everything there in front of you. And again, all the messages that we talked about earlier, and you'll have them and be able to use them rather than being unsure of what the messages might be. Or if you're doing Zoom sessions or webinars, that's a great tool as well. The fundraising letter is fantastic if you're looking for support for events. You'll see proclamations. So in Canada, we have a national proclamation that is not listed there because it's not out yet, but it should be out very soon. And you can, it kind of formalizes Fire Prevention Week, which I think is kind of cool. And pardon me, then on the bottom right, and the proclamation will be available in English and French. And then on the bottom right, an event flyer. And this used to be the open house flyer, but we've changed it to the safety event flyer so you could promote virtual experiences. And we'll show you that in just a moment as well. So still with the toolkit, this is what it looks like. If you click on the red box, you'll get, for example, download the press release, and then you'll get downloaded in English and French. So I just wanted to show you so you're familiar with it and see how it appears on your screen. So there, for example, is the French version. And if you're looking for the event flyer, you click on it and you can download it in English or French. And this is what the event flyer looks like. So it's just a poster, something that you can print, but it's a PDF and you just fill it in with your information. So I'm in Oakville, so I just played with it and said Zoom with us on Tuesday, October 6th, join us at 2 o'clock. So I'm really looking forward to that webinar. That's not actually going to happen, but you never know. So it's easy to fill out and to print out. It does use a lot of color, but you can send it out virtually, right? And all done for you and nice and easy. So I thought that was also fantastic that we were able to provide that en français. All right. Okay. Minto is doing it outside in the parking lot with no contacts. Good. Okay. So yeah, so shorter versions outside, lots of virtual stuff. Okay, good. So this will help you guys with all of that, which I'm glad to see. So when you're on the toolkit page, it's a really long page and you have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Don't stop until you can't scroll anymore. And that's where you find all of these resources. And I'm excited to show you the social media posts. You may have seen some because I've put them out there already, but we have them for remarkably all platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'm excited about the Instagram. So this is what they, sorry guys, this is what they look like. This is what it looks like on the page when you scroll down. And then I'm going to show you each one in English and in French for all the platforms so that when you go looking for them, you know exactly what you'll find. So this is what the page looks like if you hover over the red print at the bottom of any of the social media posts. It will look like this, and it will ask you which language you want, in English, French, and Spanish, of course. Okay, so there are 8 cards with 8 messages. So the theme, Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, includes the message that cooking is the #1 cause of fires and home fire injuries. And there are 6 other messages that target very specific audiences, very specific age groups, and very specific behaviors. Because remember earlier when we talked about the data, the causes of cooking fires are different for various age groups. So, for example, you could use this one, clubbing and cooking don't mix. You're targeting a really specific audience of younger folks, right? And you could share this with local universities or colleges and encourage them to post and tag you, and then you post and tag them, and then that increases and expands your audience. So we were trying to be a little bit edgy, or as edgy as NFPA will be, and reach that audience and be very specific. So all the social cards direct your audiences to fpw.org for more information. And these are the English versions, and we'll go through them. And these are optimized. So the square ones, the ones that are square, are optimized for Facebook and Instagram. Okay, so if you go and you want to download them, it gives you the sizes and the pixels and all that, but just look for the square ones if you're looking for Facebook, so that might help you. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a similar look and feel to all of them. There's some consistency there. And then these are the other 4, right? So put a lid on it, be smart, you know, smart like a smartphone. So again, trying to target a specific audience of younger people. Focus on the food. And remember, we talked about the incidences of fires, people falling asleep, right? So focus on the food, stay focused. And then there's Bill. So we want everyone to be smart like Bill and learn how to be careful in the kitchen. And that caricature has been around for a while. We took a little bit of license with it, but it seems to be working actually. A lot of people are using it and seem to enjoy it. So those are the English versions for Facebook and Instagram. And now here are the French versions for Facebook and Instagram. I just wanted you to see them so that they're familiar to you when you go searching for them on the website, and you'll see the messaging is exactly the same and consistent, and they look good, right? There's just enough text on them. It's not overpowering, and the images are suitable for social media, okay? And then I want to show you the Twitter versions. So the rectangular shapes are the Twitter versions, and these are the English ones, right? I'll show you the other 4, just again, so that you're familiar with them when you see them. And then here are the French versions with a little more text because the words are longer and more words are used. And there we go. Okay. So I'm hoping that you guys make lots of use of those, and that that's a tool that you find can really help you in the situation that we're in. Be Like Bill is awesome. It is. Thank you, Jade. They resonate with the under 40s. Yeah, perfect. Good. Okay, so campaign logos and use, something I have to say to you. Still on the toolkit page, if you scroll down, you'll find the logos. They're there so you can use them on your websites, in your social media, on anything you print, signs you want to make, any of that kind of thing. So there's different sizes, different versions in English and in French. The only thing we ask is that when you use them, you use it in its entirety and you can't alter it in any way. If you need a vector file, a large file, pardon me, if you want to put it on your fire truck, that's fine. You just have to go and click on terms of use there and ask for the vector file. I don't have it to provide to you. And again, if you want to alter it in any way, they don't recommend that, but if it's for a specific purpose and definitely for education, then they may approve it. So there is a little legal process that we have to go through. So this is the English versions of all the different sizes, and also the French versions of all the different sizes that you can download for all of your materials. Okay. All right, so teaching fire safety, which is still on the toolkit page, believe it or not. So you will get there, and teaching fire safety used to look something like this, right? So this is an example of an open house. This is the Big Pond Volunteer Fire Department in Cape Breton, where I'm from, and they always have their open house in late August when I'm there on vacation, but I wasn't this year. But that's not how it's going to look in most cases anymore. So we are going to have to learn to love our laptops and embrace this kind of education. So we're going to have to be smart about it and be smart about teaching fire safety. So how will you do it? You'll need to choose your audiences, your messages, and your platforms, such as Google Classroom. I'm not going to go into detail on any of these. I just want to let you know that they're available, and NFPA is working with some folks who are absolutely fantastic at teaching this stuff, and they have websites and webinars and virtual resources that can help you. So if you're interested in any of these, and if you want more information, let Carol know or let me know, and we will point you in the right direction. So there's Google Classroom, Flipgrid, which teachers use all the time, Canva, which I use all the time for designing social media posts and whatnot. Takes a while, and certainly when you're not used to it, it takes a while. And then Later, which is a really cool program for Instagram and for doing all your stuff in advance, and some of you are nodding that you're familiar with this. So lots and lots of resources out there. These are not NFPA resources. These are just resources that fire and life safety educators have brought to our attention and that people have been using to try to reach their audiences. So who is your target audience? We've talked about it a little bit. You put some stuff in the chat, which I thank you for. So lots and lots of different audiences. And again, our messaging targeted specifically to those folks. So if you look, these are examples of the resources that are on that toolkit page for different populations. So these are some of the items available for children. These are curriculum based and curriculum approved. So, but you don't have to use them for school. You can use them for any group within your community. Cooking safety messages for adults and older adults and people who care for adults, and home fire safety for teens, things like teens who prepare food for themselves and others in the home. So if kids are staying home on their own for the first time, microwave safety, we have a lot of issues, and we talked earlier about burns and scalds, people tipping things when they take it out of a microwave up high, that kind of thing. So lots of resources, again, for different age groups, and I just wanted you to be aware that they're all there. We had a lot of interest in this material about babysitting, and again, people staying home, people in different situations now than they used to be. So the tip sheet, some recipes, and a lesson plan for teens who care for themselves and others in the home. Really great resources. And I've been pushing this one out, the lesson plan, for fire departments to share with families so that families can have the conversations with their children. So they may not know how to prepare an escape plan or when to call 911, but this provides all that information for them. Okay, and you guys can push that out. So just wanted to show you a favorite. So in English and French, our coloring sheet. Stay away from hot things. We know that coloring is a great developmental activity for kids, and now more and more studies show the calming effects of coloring for adults. So we also have an adult coloring sheet, which I think I put here. I did, but it's not available in French, so we tried. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And you can share these on social media. You can use Facebook to reach older adults. You can email the kids' coloring sheets to daycares and preschools and elementary schools, or email the adult version to churches. Churches is really good, and they're always interested in resources. Seniors' homes, community centers, print copies of the adult sheet, partner with your local print shop, like I said, and hand them out in drive-throughs or food service delivery operators. That's a really good opportunity. And a lot of them are more than willing to become community partners and do that. So again, that's what the adult one looks like. I was going to try to color it before I posted it, but didn't get there. Okay, and some more resources for you that can be used in different ways. So this is from our Learn Not to Burn books that you're probably all familiar with. Lots of creative people have taken these exercises and put them on websites or in Google Slides or Google Classroom so that children can go online and do them instead of having the in-person books. So I won't explain to you how that's done, but it's just something that if there are folks in your department who are technically inclined and are interested in it, then they may be able to do it, or they can access folks who we've been sharing with. One of our fire and life safety educators who has this amazing website. Again, if you want to take a photo, she can walk you through it and walk you through how to create these resources. So it's drag and drop, it's all interactive. And if you're not able to get to people one-on-one or do open houses, this might be an option for you, where you can send a link to a daycare or a school, or to kids who are doing school virtually, and these opportunities are there. Okay. Okay, I will put that in the chat box. All right, and this is just an example of the easy drag and drop. Okay, so still in that toolkit on the website, safety tip sheets, lots and lots and lots of them in a whole bunch of languages. So someone mentioned earlier, new Canadians as a target audience. We have tip sheets in tons of languages, and if you come across a language that we don't have, let me know and we will make every effort to have them translated. There are also easy to read tip sheets that are more pictographs, so fewer words, more art, more images that make them easier to understand. So it depends again on your target audience. So many of them target some kind of cooking safety. There are dozens of them there, and they're all posted again if you scroll down on the toolkit page. Okay, these are some examples that work nicely with the Fire Prevention Week theme. And we do have some in French. Okay, all right, good. So we're still at the toolkit, and we're just going to talk about some out-of-the-box ideas. So I'll flip these up first so you guys can have a look at some of the things that have been going on. We've had a lot of conversations, a lot of webinars with various groups across the country about what they're doing. Did one the other day with the Ontario Fire and Life Safety Educators. We did 8 departments sharing their ideas, and I'll show you a couple of them. So everybody's being creative. It takes more work. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It takes more work because we're used to doing open houses, and we have a plan and we have a protocol. But pulling these types of things together when there are different protocols to think about. These guys are distanced, but they don't have masks on, but that was weeks and weeks and weeks ago. So now they would have masks on depending on your local protocols. So if we look first, partnerships, we know that partnerships are the foundation of community risk reduction, and they are a fantastic way to spread information further into your community. So if you think about your community and how all types of businesses and organizations have had to adapt to everything that's been going on and do things differently the past several months, lots of businesses and organizations organizations would be happy to endorse or support Fire Prevention Week as part of a community-wide effort to increase fire prevention and fire safety. Everyone's on board with fire safety, so seize this opportunity. So if a restaurant or a boutique or a clinic can get some publicity through the fire department and vice versa, people are going to jump on that now, and especially if you do that kind of sharing on social media. So one thing that I've seen be really successful is with restaurants or catering companies that are doing food delivery. And everybody's doing food delivery right now, certainly in this part of the country, and I expect in yours as well. So partner with local restaurants and food delivery services. Include some of the fire safety messaging from your kits, or you can do the printouts from the website. Again, all that is free. Several departments in Canada and the US have been doing it for several months now. I can't even believe we're saying several months, wow. And it's working really, really well. You can get colorful. I've told you about the coloring sheets. You can run contests with those. That's a great way. Win a prize, submit them online, or even mail them in, depending on what your audience is. You can pick them up, collect them, and then make phone calls. You can show them on the screens. So use your imagination and take advantage of the resources that are there. We have lots of departments doing virtual truck tours, which is great. And again, if you're using Google Classroom or any of those resources, that works really well. We know everyone loves to see the trucks, and this is bound to get your firefighters excited, so get them involved. You can find your in-house Oscar-worthy performer, write a script, and away you go. Just be sure to include the safety messages in with your video. So you can see a couple of other examples on the slide of Canadian departments that did a drive-through blitz, for example, and a bunch of departments here in Ontario did a chalk it up to fire safety. And I know the weather's starting to change, but everybody's gonna be outside more because that's the healthy thing to do in the situation that we're in. So chalk is a really good idea. And if you want any further information on any of those, I can send you a bunch of slides and the explanation and actually all the details of the program. So if you're in a full-time or a career department, I can give you the program outline right down to the evaluation phase, which is fantastic. One of the things that our Educator of the Year, NFPA's Educator of the Year, her name is Maria Bostian in North Carolina, her department partnered with a local catering company that's averaging like 700 to 800 catered meals to go a week. And it has provided, the department has put kitchen safety tips and the grilling tips and the NFPA tip sheets in those go bags, and they're getting terrific response. So the sky's the limit. You just have to be creative. And this is something else that Maria has done in her community in North Carolina. She has worked with her Downtown Business Association to have the Fire Prevention Week theme displayed on the marquees or the signs. And they're kind of got a little competition going to see, and then they did a photo contest. So she had all the businesses involved. She had people involved by doing the photo contest. And my favorite part, she had, you can see Flat Sparky there on the right. I've got a box over that. She has used Flat Sparky, which you can also find in the toolkit. Kids cut out and color Flat Sparky and put that into the mix. And then you've got sort of two sets of things happening at once with the businesses, with parents taking photos, and with the kids involving Flat Sparky. So that's a new Flat Sparky image. And you can be as creative with that as you like. Some of you may be aware there's a Flat Stanley that kids use in elementary school, and this Flat Sparky is the same concept where you take Sparky traveling with you. Obviously, we can't do the Sparky stuffies right now or anything else because of COVID, so this is a nice alternative, and it's free. So lastly, or just about lastly, where do you get this stuff? I think probably most of you have ordered already. Two options in Canada: the Fire Hall Bookstore, of course, which is Annex Business Media. You all know I used to work for Firefighting in Canada magazine, which is produced by Annex Business Media. Pardon me. So that is firehallbookstore.com. And then there is Public Safety Resource Center, which is colloquially known as CanOps, which is the business arm of the Canadian Council of Fire Marshals and Fire Commissioners. And that is actually incorrect. It's FPW, it's CanOps Store, sorry, it fell off, canopsstore.org. Okay, all right. And there is our Sparky. You can see mine behind me. That's brand new this year. Lots and lots of people have ordered. We ran out. We have new ones now, and they are available through both locations. I think he's just slightly cheaper at the Fire Hall bookstore than through Canops, but Canops came out with a sale this week, so I think it's 15% off. So there you go. Okay, and this is what you get in the kit. Pardon me, if you're ordering kits. Poster comes in English and French, the activity books, which are fantastic and again done by our education team, so it's all curriculum based. These are the stickers on the stickers and tattoos. Yes, stickers and tattoos that are in the kit. And the magnets this year, which I love, they're in English and French, yes. And they include safety messaging, which is fantastic, and there's no date on them, so they don't get stale, right? Which again, big wins, big wins. So just back for a few minutes to some out of the box ideas. The Chalk It Up to Fire Safety, promoted on social media by a whole bunch of fire departments, worked really well. Some had better response than others. You do have to work at it, right? If you're going to have something virtual, you need to promote it. So these are some of the ways that people did promote it and what it looked like on social. So kind of cool, easy to do. The virtual smoke alarm visits, if you're interested in any of these, I can put you directly in touch with the departments who successfully did the programs, and again, send you the outlines right down to the evaluations. So that was a good idea. Russell, which is just outside of Ottawa, they had taken it to the streets all summer, and they're going to do it again now. So fire trucks on parade kind of thing, but they're letting the neighborhoods know in advance. We had a webinar with this gentleman the other day, David Scott from Russell, the fire and life safety educator. He said it was crazy. Entire neighborhoods out sitting on the curb, sitting in their driveway in lawn chairs, waiting for the fire trucks to come. They did everything, you know, used pike poles to hand out swag bags and whatnot. And he said this response was overwhelming. So again, takes a little bit of work, but it worked, and probably a really good idea for Fire Prevention Week this year. Burlington Fire Department did what's your burning question? So they had people submit questions, and then the fire prevention officers, who look so comfortable on camera, not really, answered the questions. They were very careful about their messaging. They were coached, they wrote scripts, and there were prizes. So that worked really well, and they got tons and tons of traction on social media. And was that my last one? Yes, it was. Okay. And I just want to tell you before we flip over to questions about our Spotlight on Public Education, which has generally been held at our conference and expo. And Carol and Jeremy attended with me last year. It's going to be virtual. It's coming soon. I will let you know, and everything will be recorded so you guys can do the sessions in the evening if you like. There'll be 3 or 4 sessions. It won't be overwhelming. So I have talked and talked and talked for a long time. So I'm going to close my screen and then open it up for questions and conversation, and I will flip through the chat box as well.